Kind waitress feeds hungry old couple during Christmas Eve, unaware they were billionaires. Snow was falling softly outside the windows of Miller's diner on Christmas Eve. Inside, the warmth of the kitchen, mixed with the smell of coffee and homemade pie. Most of the staff had already left to be with their families. But Keisha stayed. She had volunteered to work the late shift so her co-workers with children could go home early. At 28 years old, Keisha understood what it meant to sacrifice for others. Her own mother had worked 3 jobs to raise her and her 2 brothers. Now her mother was gone, her brothers lived far away, and Christmas Eve was just another shift, just another chance to serve people with kindness. The diner was nearly empty. A young couple sat in one corner, holding hands across the table. A truck driver nursed his 3rd cup of coffee at the counter, and then the door opened, bringing in a gust of cold wind and 2 elderly people. The man was tall even with his slight stoop, maybe in his early 70s. His gray beard was neatly trimmed, but his jacket was worn and patched at the elbows. His plaid shirt had seen better days. The woman beside him had soft gray hair and gentle eyes. Her blue cardigan was clean but faded, knitted by hand many years ago. They moved slowly, carefully, like people who had walked a long way. Keisha grabbed 2 menus and smiled. "Good evening," she said warmly. "Please, sit anywhere you like." The couple chose a booth near the window where they could watch the snow. They settled in with visible relief, the woman rubbing her hands together for warmth. Keisha brought them water and gave them a moment with the menus. When she returned, she noticed they were whispering to each other, the kind of quiet conversation that held worry. "What can I get for you folks tonight?" Keisha asked gently. The man cleared his throat. "Just coffee for now, please." 2 cups. "We're still deciding." But Keisha had worked enough shifts to recognize the look on their faces, the way they studied the prices instead of the food descriptions, the way the woman's eyes lingered on the soup and sandwich combo before moving to the cheaper items, the way the man's hand shook slightly as he held the menu. She had seen that look in her own mother's eyes years ago. "Coffee coming right up," Keisha said, "and the owner just made a fresh batch of vegetable soup. It's delicious today." She brought the coffee and left them alone, but she could not stop thinking about them. Through the window she could see the bus stop across the street, empty now, the last bus having left an hour ago. The next one would not come until tomorrow afternoon, Christmas Day. When she checked on them again, they had not ordered. "We'll just stick with the coffee," the man said. "Thank you kindly." His voice was dignified, proud, but Keisha heard the apology underneath. The woman's stomach growled audibly, and she looked down, embarrassed. Keisha made a decision. "You know what?" she said, as if just remembering something. "We have a Christmas special tonight. Soup, sandwich, and pie. The owner insists we can't let it go to waste. It's already paid for. Would you folks mind helping us out?" The couple looked at each other. "We don't want charity," the man said quietly, but his wife put her hand on his arm. "Harold," she said softly. Then to Keisha, "That's very kind, dear. Are you certain?" "Absolutely certain," Keisha said with her warmest smile. She went to the kitchen and prepared 2 of the best meals she could make: hot vegetable soup with fresh bread, turkey sandwiches with all the fixings, a side of mashed potatoes, and 2 slices of apple pie with vanilla ice cream. She paid for it out of her own tips, money she had been saving for her rent. But it was Christmas Eve, and these people needed kindness more than she needed that money right now. When she brought the food, the woman's eyes filled with tears. "Bless you, child," she whispered. Harold reached out and squeezed Keisha's hand. His grip was stronger than she expected. "Thank you," he said, and there was something in his eyes, something that looked like he was memorizing her face. They ate slowly, savoring every bite. Keisha kept their coffee cups filled and gave them all the time they needed. Other customers came and went. The hours passed. Around 10 o'clock, as Keisha was wiping down tables, Harold called her over. "Miss," he said, "we never properly introduced ourselves. I'm Harold Morrison, and this is my wife, Margaret." "I'm Keisha," she said. "Keisha Williams." "Well, Keisha Williams," Harold said, pulling out a small notebook and pen from his jacket pocket. "Would you mind writing down your full name and address? I'd like to send you a proper thank you." Keisha hesitated, then wrote it down. She did not expect anything to come of it. People said things like that all the time. When they left, bundled up against the cold, Margaret hugged her tight. "You have a beautiful spirit," she whispered. "Don't ever lose that." Keisha watched them walk down the snowy street until they disappeared around the corner. Then she finished her shift, locked up the diner, and went home to her small apartment. Christmas Day passed quietly. She called her brothers, watched old movies, and tried not to think about being alone. 3 days later, a lawyer showed up at the diner during her shift. He wore an expensive suit and carried a briefcase. He asked for Keisha Williams. "I'm Keisha," she said, confused and a little worried. Had she done something wrong? The lawyer smiled. "Miss Williams, I represent Harold and Margaret Morrison. They wanted me to deliver this to you personally." He handed her an envelope. Inside was a letter in shaky but elegant handwriting. "Dear Keisha," it began, "Margaret and I want you to know that your kindness on Christmas Eve meant more to us than you could possibly imagine. We were not homeless or destitute as you might have thought. We are actually quite comfortable financially, but we were testing something. You see, 40 years ago we started a small company with nothing but an idea and determination. That company grew beyond our wildest dreams. Last year we sold it for an amount that still makes our head spin. But success changed us. We became suspicious of people's motives. Everyone wanted something from us. Everyone smiled, but we could not tell if it was real. So on Christmas Eve, we decided to dress simply and walk into a random diner to see how we would be treated when we looked like we had nothing. Most places that evening were closed or turned us away. You were the 5th diner we tried. And you, dear Keisha, you saw us not as potential customers or as burdens, but as human beings who needed warmth and nourishment. You gave from your own pocket, expecting nothing in return. That is rare. That is precious. That is the kind of person we have been searching for." Keisha's hands were shaking as she continued reading. "We are old now, and we have no children. We have been looking for the right person to entrust with our charitable foundation, someone who understands what it means to struggle, to work hard, and to still have compassion for others. If you are willing, we would like to offer you a position as director of the Morrison Foundation. The salary is $200,000 per year. Your job would be to find people and causes that need help and to give generously. We want you to spread the kind of kindness you showed us, but on a much larger scale." The letter went on with contact information and details. Keisha read it 3 times before she believed it was real. The law. Yer was smiling. "They're waiting for your call," he said. That evening, Keisha sat in Harold and Margaret's beautiful home, drinking tea and crying as they told her their full story, how they had built Morrison Technologies from their garage, how success had isolated them, how her simple act of kindness had reminded them why they wanted to give back in the first place. "You restored our faith," Margaret said, holding Keisha's hand, "not just in others but in ourselves." 5 years later, the Morrison Foundation had helped thousands of people, built schools, funded medical care, supported struggling families, and Keisha ran it all with the same spirit she had shown that Christmas Eve. She never forgot where she came from, never stopped seeing people as human beings first. On every Christmas Eve, she volunteered at Miller's Diner, serving meals, sharing warmth, looking for chances to show kindness, because she understood now what Harold and Margaret had learned over their long lives, that money and success mean nothing if you lose your humanity, that the truest measure of a person is how they treat those who can do nothing for them, that kindness is never wasted, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Harold and Margaret became like grandparents to her, and when they passed, both in their sleep within months of each other, they left her not just the foundation but their home, and a letter. "Use it all to keep being the person you were that snowy Christmas Eve. The world needs more people like you, Keisha. Thank you for reminding us what matters." Keisha kept that letter framed in her office, a reminder that one small act of kindness, done with a genuine heart, can change everything, not just for the person who receives it, but for the person who gives it. Because in the end, we are all just trying to find our way through the cold, and sometimes all it takes is one willing to offer warmth, one person willing to see another's humanity, One person willing to give without counting the cost. That is the true meaning of Christmas. That is the true meaning of a life well lived. If this story warmed your heart and reminded you of the power of simple kindness, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment telling us about a time when a small act of kindness made a big difference in your life or someone else's. Your stories inspire us all and remind us what truly matters. Thank you for listening.